Hi guys, Devil Hunter XYZ, and I know it's been quite some time since I've done this, but I think it's about time for me to do another good and the bad. And it's been about a year since I've done this, unfortunately. I kind of got caught up with so many things on my main channel, and I was trying some new stuff out on my second channel, so I just haven't had the time to really do one of these. So I just kind of think it's about time for me to get back into it. And why not get back into it with Devil May Cry 5, the latest game in the Devil May Cry series? And I've done the other games in the past, I believe. I hope so. So, the latest one that came out back in the mid 2019, or I think it was actually March of 2019. And is one of the more popular games, I say, in the Devil May Cry series. A lot of people have been waiting for this one, so let's see how it is. All right, so for a little summary of this game, well, Devil May Cry 5, like in the other games, it's a action adventure hack and slash type game. And in this case, you're playing as three characters. You got Nero, you got Dante, and you got the new character V. And essentially, their goal is to, well, I guess, slay the demons that are roaming throughout Redgrave City. But at the same time, they're also trying to make their way towards what is known as the Qliphoth tree, which essentially it's like a giant tree that was a giant tree that kind of sprouted from the demon world itself, and it's being run by a all immense powerful demon, like the essentially the new demon king, known as Urizen. And comparing him to Mundus, yes, I'd say he's about almost as strong as Mundus himself. And essentially, what Urizen's goal is with the Qliphoth tree is he's trying to gather blood of the humans and trying to absorb him into the tree so that it can create a fruit from the tree itself, so that he would give him immense godlike powers. Uh, but I mean, that's kind of the whole premise. Really, it's just the characters trying to make their way into the tree to try to stop Urizen. And of course, near the end, try not to spoil too much, but they do encounter a familiar face, a fan favorite from the Devil May Cry series themselves. But I'm going to just leave it at that. But I mean, it has the same type of mechanics, the same sword slashing, well, devil arms base, you got weapons, you got devil trigger, stuff like that. Granted, it is running on a different engine itself compared to the other games, and it's kind of taking advantage of the Resident Evil engine, the Resident Evil engine that kind of ran RE7 a few years back. But I mean, for the most part, though, it still plays pretty much the same. I say it kind of dabbles a little bit into like all the Devil May Cry games, but well, I mean that's kind of how it is. All right, for the good of this game, I would say a few things actually. One, do like the fact that this game is kind of split up evenly amongst the characters. I mean, at first I was kind of skeptical as to how in the world you're gonna balance out three characters in a single game. Uh, because back in Devil May Cry 4, the problem was you mostly spend the time playing as Nero and hardly any time as Dante at all. Here they try to rectify that by having all three characters play almost pretty much roughly about the same amounts for the most part. I mean, altogether with the inclusion of the prologue, there's like 21 missions. So I mean, it's not like an even split, but it's almost close. I mean, it's still, I guess, technically closer to a Nero game than anything else, because you are technically playing Nero a little bit more than any other characters, but it does try to make the good effort to try to balance it out even more. And also in general, I think the missions themselves are kind of more, you know, balanced out in terms of combat, because there's not really much puzzle solving compared to like the previous games. Second, I would have to say is the actual fighting styles of the characters themselves, which I do like. The thing is, Nero plays pretty much the same how he did in Devil May Cry 4. So I mean, if you knew how to play him back then, playing him here is roughly the same. But the only exception is since now he doesn't have the Devil Bringer anymore. He has the Devil Breakers, essentially these disposable arms with different types of abilities. Yeah, so it's kind of adding new types of gameplay to that, considering each arm has a special ability which can become useful in certain types of situations. So you kind of have to balance out with that. And of course, near the end of the game, he does eventually get his Devil Trigger, so you can combine, your Devil Breaker with the Devil Trigger abilities. So, and actually, you can technically even combine it with Devil Bringer. I'm not trying to get too far into that, but yeah, you technically have the Devil Bringer as well back. So you have like multiple options with Nero, more so than what you could do back in the old game. And then for Dante, uh, typical Dante, he has multiple devil arms, multiple guns. Luckily, more than what he had back in the well, back in the fourth game as well. So thank God for that. And yeah, of course, you can actually customize them in a way where you can actually have them. Well, you have to swap through the guns and the swords, kind of similar to how I did in the fourth game, but you can customize them in a way to have them in a certain order, or you can even choose not to even include some of the weapons at all, so that it doesn't have to be all at once. And of course, also they did bring back his style system, so you're able to actually switch upon your styles at any point during the game. And of course, they all have their unique abilities as well. And then with V, he also has uh, V has really more of a unique style, as it's kind of more of a spammy type of game style, as V himself doesn't really fight per se. He creates he basically has these monsters, these demons that he has alongside them, kind of reflecting actually close to the enemies from like the previous games. I mean, you have Griffin, you have you have Griffin, you have Shadow, and then you have a Nightmare. Uh, a nightmare companion to essentially help you in fighting the enemies themselves. But yeah, so essentially it's kind of more of a spammy thing, because which the buttons are kind of mapped out to each of the animal sets. So yeah, you're kind of creating combinations with that, and you're basically using V himself just to finish off enemies to absorb their power. Essentially, it's a little bit unique in a way, but it's something you kind of had to get used to. And for the third thing, I would say good about this game is I I do like the fact that it might be something small and petty, but I do like the fact that they did revert back to just one currency system. I know it's not much, but it was kind of a pain back in the fourth game to have two types of currency, um, being proud souls and red orbs. Here though, in this game, it's just all red orbs, and I mean you're going to be needing a lot of red orbs though to yeah, you're going to be needing a lot of red orbs to do a lot of upgrades for the characters. Yes. Of course, there is a way around that. I mean, you can technically buy red orbs from the actual stores themselves. So, I mean, that's your choice. You can do that. Granted, though, there are a few ways you can technically farm for red orbs, and which don't really take too long, in my opinion. But I mean, that is an option out there if you want. And fourth thing I would have to say is I do like the fact that the game. I do like the story of the game itself. It's in terms of like the themes it's applying. I mean, the story itself is pretty basic to say the least, but I do like the themes of having the characters come together, uniting as one, fighting as a family. I mean, I it's just I think it was a kind of a better idea than having the characters seem like they're immortal, like that nothing can stop them. That's kind of how it always felt like in the previous games. Like it felt like no one can really stop them. Like they always come on top all the time. But here you can actually see their struggles trying to fight off against Urizen, and having to fight him multiple times just to even try to take him down. I mean, it's just seeing the progression of the characters as the game goes through. Yeah, I mean, I do like that. All right, so for the bad of this game, one thing I can say immediately would have to be the items in the shop. Um, Yeah, well, in the shop you can upgrade your weapons and stuff like that, like usual. But unfortunately for the items, it's extremely lacking. The only thing you have are blue orbs, purple orbs, and gold orbs, and unfortunately that's it. There's no. What's baffling is just no vital stars, no devil stars, no holy waters, which those have been in. Those have kind of been the staple in the series for years. It's just kind of odd they decided to take them out. So, I mean, I don't know. Maybe they're saying that the game is a little bit easier. Maybe I don't know. Comparing it to the other games, I kind of say the difficulty was roughly about the same. um, I mean, the only silver lining is if you sign in every day, you do get a gold orb, so you can keep farming gold orbs over and over if you want. But it's just kind of odd that they decided to take out classic items that have been in the franchise forever and just now nothing. This is the fact they don't even exist. Second, I would have to say is the lack of puzzles in the game. Uh, Typically, in most Devil May Cry games, there's always some kind of puzzle solving mechanic or certain instances in the missions where you have to solve puzzles or find keys or activate something to progress to certain other parts of the areas, which I kind of did like that because it did help with progression, and it didn't get monotonous and having to go through combat all the time. But unfortunately, it's like extremely, again, it's extremely lacking here. I mean, besides the the hatchling egg or whatever it was, that was really it. There was no keys, there's no special type of orbs, no ornament, there's no gems or anything to help to like open doors or anything like that to break up the pace of the combat, which I mean, yeah, I guess it's kind of a good thing in terms of just getting more playtime with the characters instead of wasting your time having to go through portals or going through doors, finding keys or whatever. I guess in hindsight, yeah, it does give more playtime that way, but at times it kind of burns you out having to go through like multiple fights over and over. Third, I would have to say is the fact that uh, the minor characters in the game, Nico, we have Lady, you have Trish. Surprisingly, they did have Morrison and Patty, and of course there's Kyrie. Granted, those last two they were only there through voice, but I mean I'm glad they kind of remembering the entire series themselves in hindsight, but it's just they don't really get much screen time or really much acknowledgement for that matter, especially for like Lady and Trish, which those have been kind of popular characters for the last couple of games, but unfortunately they've just been getting more downplayed as the series progresses. And honestly, they could just without them, you wouldn't even notice. It really wouldn't make a difference if those characters wouldn't have been there. Honestly, I mean, they didn't really contribute to much in the game itself. So did also with like Kyrie or Morrison. Really, they're just there. I mean, I'm glad that they acknowledge their existence in some way or another, but I would like to have seen some screen time, maybe give some more backstory on the characters, something to kind of more progress the characters themselves besides just the main characters. Then fourth, I would have to say the new added network feature for co-op play that they have. Uh, I guess certain points in the game, you have a character, you have like another player playing another character in the same mission. But granted, they're not really fighting alongside with you, though. I think with the only exception to one mission where technically all the characters can technically fight together, it's more like just having two players in the same mission at the same time, more or less. It doesn't really seem to affect gameplay that much, which is honestly a huge missed opportunity because it would have been something if we could have gotten a co-op based Devil May Cry game. I mean, I've been actually wanting something like that, or maybe like an open world type Devil May Cry game with multiple players. That would have been nice. I mean, that would have at least been a first step in that direction. But unfortunately, it didn't really seem to do much. Just I mean, it might as well just been nothing more than computer AI players playing the game as well. I mean, it didn't really seem to make any difference whatsoever. Well, whatsoever. So, it was kind of a little bit disappointing that it didn't get more fully fleshed out. All right, so for my conclusion, Devil May Cry 5, I'd say it's actually one of the better Devil May Cry games. I mean, if I was going to put it in like a list, really, of top to top Devil May Cry to least favorite Devil May Cry, I would have to say for me, this would probably rank probably after the first Devil May Cry, in my opinion. I'd say it's kind of almost middle of the road, which I still say it's better than Devil May Cry 4, in my opinion. Granted, we had multiple characters, multiple types of gameplay mechanics that you had to kind of get used to, a variety of combat, the fact that they have Bloody Palace, being able to go through 100 levels of fighting difficult enemies. And also, they even added a practice mode where you can actually practice with individual types of enemies, working on combos, learning weak spots, weak points on the enemies themselves. Being able to train, so make yourself better better at the game, which I do like that. And I mean, for the most part, it seemed to almost trying to cater to the old fans, but also open up to new fans of the Devil May Cry series, which I do like, and I do think that it for the most part hit its potential. Granted, I wish they could have kept in some of the old stuff from before, to kind of give me more of a nostalgia feeling, and also story wise. I mean, it was simple. I'm nothing too wrong with that, but it seemed like they kind of played it too safe, in my opinion, and it kind of a little bit rushed near the end, especially with the big reveal near the end of the game. I kind of wish they would have spent more time a little bit developing, that specific character. But overall, though, I think they did a pretty decent job, and I guess for a final score, I would have to give this one a. I would give this one probably an 8 out of 10. I still it's a really decent game, really pretty good game, and I highly recommend it. I would still say Devil May Cry 3 would be a slightly better option, but that's just me saying that. I mean, I think most people would say Devil May Cry 3 is still probably the best one in the series itself, but I mean, this one did a pretty good attempt as to almost capturing that, you know, that finesse of it. But I mean, here's hoping to another decent Devil May Cry game, hopefully in the future, possibly. But I would like to see maybe a Devil May Cry 6. Who knows? Alright, guys, this is Devil Hunter XYZ, and until next time.